Welcome, and today we're here to talk to you about unified communications for Google Apps and the value it can deliver your business. Welcome, and today we're here to talk to you about unified communications for Google Applications. Google Applications is a complete business application suite that comprises of enterprise directory management, enterprise portal, business websites, document storage, sharing, email, calendaring, spam filtering, and business tools such as word processing, spreadsheets, and presentations bundled in a per user per year service, moving your physical investment in technology to an annual expense for leveraging Google's hosted service. What is Unified Communications for Google Apps? Well, Unified Communications for Google Apps is the integration of our Unified Communication application with the hosted Google Apps service. You take our UC server that's on site connected to your existing infrastructure, your phone system and business applications, and then we link into the Google domain through IMAP and Google APIs to synchronize in real time data information between the hosted service and the existing infrastructure that exists on premise. It allows us to do things like add mobility to the Office organization, so I have anywhere, anytime access to messages, live calls, live status of my organization. I have rich enterprise presence. From Google natively, I can see when people are on the phone, what extension they're at. And I've got native unified messaging. So from anywhere I can check my messages, voice, fax, email from my mobile phone, my desk phone, and it's all integrated with MessageLite support at my desk. So if you look at this architecturally, we're basically with our unified communication service that's on-premise connected physically to the existing switches. And in this case, it could be one switch like an Avaya, or we could be connected to multiple locations that may consist of Cisco, Nortel, and Avaya. We would bridge them all together as one system so they could dial each other as if it was one environment, and then we would link that physical infrastructure, those handsets, those phone statuses, your mobile phones, into business applications, whether they were on-premise or in the cloud. So now we would share that information into Google Apps. So when I'm working in Google Apps, I would have that native information to click to dial, to see incoming call, to know someone's status if they're on the phone, and be able to check my voice and fax messages right out of Gmail. At the same time, we can link that into other hosted applications like Salesforce.com, so I can not only dial natively out of Salesforce.com, but it would use my PBX, so I would get the lowest cost routing rules implemented for dialing. When calls come in, we'd be able to find the record out of Salesforce.com and pop it up on my desktop and log that call and make it part of the traditional call accounting sequence that I would get out of my traditional PBX. And then the third level is then we can take all these mobile endpoints, a BlackBerry, an iPhone, or a Windows mobile device, and even a Google Android device, and now we can register those devices through our UC application as trusted endpoints off our switch. So natively out of those devices we can do dialing, we can take calls, we can do instant messaging, presence, no live status, check our Google Apps, check our messages, and if we don't have a data plan, physically dial in and get the exact same functionality as if I did have a data plan. So we're giving you anywhere, anytime access from those mobile endpoints, even at the lowest common denominator, which is simple dial tone. When you look at the Google Apps with UC versus a traditional business infrastructure, you're looking at a major difference. Now you can implement all the applications you would in a traditional business, but with dramatically less infrastructure, less management, and less cost. So again, on the left would be your traditional business solution provider with the amount of servers and applications you would need to manage and maintain, versus a UC for Google Apps would consist of a hosted OpEx monthly or yearly service from Google integrated to your on-premise infrastructure through the UC server, which in itself consolidates applications. Speech server, mobility server, presence, CTI, and fax, and unified messaging all in one box, one system to manage, integrated into your Google Apps. Now you've got major cost savings. You're going to reduce your hardware requirements, your application requirements, the management of those applications, your annual support maintenance becomes dramatically less because it's consolidated into one service. And again, from an organizational perspective and a corporate citizen perspective, you truly are going green because you're eliminating all this hardware, all this power consumption into a hosted service, and you're dramatically reducing the amount of power and hardware that you would need to drive and run in your physical facility on an annual basis. But still, What are the key feature sets in the current release of our unified communications platform integrated into Google Apps? So an example of unified messaging, so when I'm in this fictitious company, Esna Technologies, and I go into my inbox, you'll see when I check my inbox, I now have access by searching, using the powerful Google search, I can look up voice message, and then it would pull up all my voice messages in my inbox. This would allow me to not only know who called me with the caller ID, but I would get again, either MP3 or WAV file, so I can click on this file and have this play back over my audio speakers. Or as another option, a transcription option, I can have that message converted to text, so I could read that voicemail directly out of my email. Or more importantly, if I was on my mobile phone, I wouldn't have to disrupt and play this message over my speakers. I could just read and quickly get a good, concise idea of what the message was regarding. Again, the same thing for faxes. We can deliver the faxes as a TIFF or PDF, but no longer do you need to tie up your fax machine and print up wasted paper. All your faxes now come into the UC gateway, which then processes the fax and delivers it directly into your Gmail inbox. And what that allows me to do is view them as PDF or TIFFs. Again, a message light on my phone if the fax comes in. If I read it in Google or I print it on a fax machine, it'll be all purely synchronized as if I was in the same system regardless of the endpoint it was on. One other element, depending on the PBX, the UC application can also do call recording and call logging. So if I'm talking to someone, I can click on a record button, and now I have the complete recorded conversation in my inbox. So now I have access to voicemail, faxes, and recorded conversations, and the same option. That conversation is stored as an MP3 or a WAV file, as well as I can have it as an option, as pay as I go, as a converted transcribed message, which is stored in my secure Google Apps and in my secure UC server that's sitting within my facility. Another great functionality is dialing. So as we mentioned, click the dial. I could be anywhere within my Google Apps, highlight a number, right mouse click, and have the dial function, which would then call one of my registered devices. And as you can see, Google knows that I'm in office and I'm at this extension 314. So when I click dial here, it's going to take 314 off hook and dial that number for me. I can dial from my contacts, or I could dial right from my Google Talk interface. It would also provide me native integration to whatever mobile device I'm using. So now I have mobile unified communications for Google Apps. So if I'm using my mobile Google Apps application, again, like on my iPhone, the same thing. I would go into my inbox and I would have a list of all those voice messages, just as if I was in my Google Apps. And again, the same message would be delivered in an MP3 or a WAV format, depending how I choose. And then I'd be able to either click on this file and listen into it over my mobile device, or I could read the message directly on my mobile phone. Same thing for recorded conversations, and again, as I'm talking to someone and record that conversation back at the office, or someone records a call back at the office, it then would end up natively in my inbox, and again I would see that MP3 or WAV file, as well as I could read the transcript of that conversation I just had with that individual. To UC for Google Apps in the next current version that is scheduled to release. Well, in version 3.0 of our UC server, we're adding some key elements that we think will add true value to the total Google environment. So if you look at the dialing and presence and mobility functions, so again, right out of the native Google Gadget or Google app for Google Talk, I'd be able to see my coworkers, their status, if they're in the office, away on business, and what physical location they're at, or whether they're on or off the phone. And all this information will be fed from the information that's sitting on our UC server about that individual. We'll also have a gadget for dialing. So using this gadget, I just have to pump in a number, and that would then register with the existing PBX at my office. That would then look at what phone I'm on. Maybe I'm on an IP phone, maybe I'm on my cell phone, and bridge the call to me. So now all my long distance, all my dialing is centralized off my office PBX. So I have greater call control, greater cost containment, and now all my calls, incoming and outgoing, are all logged and audited by my office application, so it can be maintained and managed in a much more professional manner. Again, this is the example of the CTI integrated Google search. By integrating with Google Desktop or Google Search, when a call comes in, we're going to find not only look at the number, find the matching name, and try to find any record sitting on my desktop, leveraging a Google Desktop search to pop up the relevant content.